Hey, hey.
Hey, hey,
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man.
That's good. It's
How
nice and
you doing?
sunny where you're at.
Yeah. Sun's coming in the window. It's a really nice day here. What's it like in Buffalo?
Well, it started out okay, let's go overcast and on the warmer side in the lower 50s. So when I went out for my walk today, everything was fine up until I got through about half of it, and then it started to pour. So my walk turned into a jog,
Oh yeah. Oh my
or a
gosh.
or a brisk run, I should say.
Right. So no snow yet up there? Just rain?
No, but they're calling for some heavy lake effects over the next couple of days. So. And we're due
Awesome.
for it.
Yeah.
We've been pretty lucky so far with no snow.
Very cool.
But it looks like you'll be dealing with a little bit of that potentially, because
Yeah.
part of the reason why we're talking is you're going to be coming to Buffalo on December 6th for your annual Christmas show or holiday show at the Sportsman's Tavern on Amherst Street, and we all look forward to seeing you. And but this is a little different because it's also a CD release party.
Right. Right. CD and vinyl.
Oh,
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I have a new album out, Down the Hatch, and it's I'm really psyched how it's just doing well everywhere. So I'm really, as you know, you never know when you release a record, but that's really nice that it's charting everywhere and blah blah blah. And
yeah.
so
What kind of charting success? I mean, I've seen it on the Roots Music Report. It's hit number one for blues rock in some places, and also in France, I believe, was just number
yeah,
two.
yeah. I mean, I today I think it's number one in Australia and number one in uh, um, a lot of different countries, you know. But I know Australia, Germany, I think. I mean, and blues rock, the Roots report's been blues rock and blues. So it's, I mean, I don't know. XM's playing the heck out of it, which is really cool.
Sure.
Sirius Satellite, it's getting played. I get reports that, everywhere in the country, it's somewhere it's getting played, once a day somewhere. And so I couldn't be happier, because it's not, you know, it's not going crazy, but but
Blues
people are hearing
crazy.
it. Yeah, blues crazy, but it's going blues crazy. Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, the album art I thought was interesting, and it made me wonder if Willie Nelson and Keith Richards got together to collaborate on your album art.
yeah. That was a guy named his name is Chai, and the label had him. Uh, I've never really had. Well, I guess a few times in the past. I've made a lot of records, but um, I don't normally do photo shoots or anything like, So the record company was really cool. They said we have this guy that we want to do the album cover, and he's an artist. He needs paint stuff, and he's got all these visions about stuff, but he needs to talk to you. And we sent him the album, and he needs to talk to you. So I talked to him, and he was really cool, and he had all these cool ideas, and I mean, he just did it. He asked me to send him stuff, and then he'd call me and say, you know, if I was going to ask you for a ball or something that you have close by you in your office, like what would it be? Like a soccer ball? And I go, no. I go, I have a football and I have a baseball, and he goes, send the baseball. And he goes, did you play baseball? I go, yeah, I played. And, it just was interesting. He was really putting together something. And, so yeah, I've never really had a album cover that was done professionally like that. So very
Well,
cool.
that's cool. I mean, the reason I kind of made that ludicrous speculation about, Willie and Keith was when you look at that old acoustic guitar on there, it's got holes in the body like Willie
Yep.
Nelson's, but it's only got five strings like Keith Richards would play, and it's also like the one he played in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie when he was Jack
That's
Black's father.
I
And
didn't even put that together. I didn't even put that together, but that's yeah, yeah, right.
yeah, and the strings are like made of barbed wire, which is really,
Right.
raw and very, very, very bluesy. Which of course you know all too well about the blues and bluesiness. Man, I can't imagine the stuff that's passed into your senses, through playing with Buddy and working with all these different artists over the years. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it creeps in, I've learned from them all.
Yeah. So speaking of, sports and balls and stuff like that, you had a choice when you were in high school, um, to go either for a college scholarship and continue to play football because you were star athlete for Amherst, or pick a music career and go to Berkeley. And it's, I can't imagine you've got any regrets, but I wonder if you've had any, if all the success you've had, all the Grammy awards and the collaborations and the tours and the experiences, have they exceeded any dreams and expectations that you might have had back then?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, obviously, when you're starting out, you want to. I mean, every little step along the way is, I just wanted to be in a band and write songs and play original music, and then play at a club, play it, have people come see us, and then it really came to a point where I remember being in Boston, and I was like, boy, I'd love to play, in Boston. I'd love to play in somewhere else in Massachusetts. I'd love to play in New Hampshire. Oh, I'm playing in New Hampshire tonight. I'd love to play, and then I'd love to play New York City. And I'd love to play the Beacon Theater, or someday. And then all these little things when they happen. I love to play Madison Square Garden. And so when it does happen, for me, I just everything was a milestone and a dream come true. And a lot of it's because of I was a kind of a student of the music. So I had, when the Beatles played the Hollywood Bowl, I have that album. So when I played the Hollywood Bowl, a lot of things were going through my mind.
Wow.
When I played the Olympia in Paris, that's where the Grateful Dead. I remembered my older brother, who was 5 years older than me, had the live Dead record, Europe '72. And it
Hmm.
was, he played that like crazy all the time, trucking and, all of
Yeah.
those songs. And I remember I was always a liner note guy. I'd always read the liner notes, and it said recorded at the Olympia in Paris, France. I remember thinking, wow, that's like another, that's like going to Saturn, or
Yeah.
that's another, I'll never do that. And so, and then when I was there, by the time I played that place, I remember seeing my name on the marquee when I walked in, Olympia, and I remember seeing the Beatles' name on there. And when the
Wow.
Beatles first played France, this is too much of a long story, but this is you'll
It's
get it.
okay.
We went to when they first went to Paris to play, they didn't know how they do, and they put it on one night at the Olympia, and they played 19 nights in a row. Yeah. And so I remember being on that stage and telling some of the guys in the band, like, the Beatles played on it. And they're like, what? How do you know all that stuff? I'm thinking, the Dead recorded their record here. I mean, I just am such a kind of a nerd in that. I just love all that stuff. So I know, I guess in answer to your question, yeah, every time I heard my song on the radio, I never heard myself on the radio. I
Yeah.
wanted every time I got an album or it came out and I could hold an album in my hand that I made, or my songs on it. So everything is a little bit of a dream come true. Somebody else recording one of my songs or
Yeah.
playing on a record that somebody, so
Well, you've
all
had
that
so
stuff.
so many of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you've had so
Yeah.
many of those experiences with people, recording and playing your music, and you've got a little bit of a mix of producer and songwriting in terms of nominations at the upcoming Grammy Awards. So you stand to have another shot at adding some more hardware, like we see behind you.
Yeah, yeah, I know, man. Yeah. Well, uh, golly, man, I don't even know anymore. I mean, I that's
I mean,
that's crazy, all that stuff,
well, what are some of them? I think you've got the traditional blues album with Buddy Guy, correct?
right.
That's nominated. and on that you collaborated with, geez, Joe Walsh. I mean, how did you how does Joe Walsh get involved on a Buddy Guy record? You know, that type of thing.
Well, that's kind of because of Buddy Guy, but it's kind of me that because I wrote the song and we recorded it, and then I kind of think who might be cool on this song, and that song is a song called "How Blues Is That," and it's also on my studio record, and that's how Buddy heard it. You know, I was making my
Okay.
record, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to put on my record. I have a bunch of songs and a pile of songs, and he wanted songs, so I said, "Yeah, this might be something you could do." And he heard it, he liked it, and so I remember when we were done with it, I thought this would be a good guest artist song, and I thought of Joe Walsh because of the groove. It's a shuffle, but it kind of like a Rocky Mountain Way shuffle, you know,
Okay.
and it didn't have slide on it, but I thought, boy, Joe Walsh might nail this thing. It kind of was, how blues is that? Boom, 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 boom. You know, it's not like a Chicago blues. It was
More of
like,
a
spent
rock
the
shuffle.
last year Rocky Mountain Way. You know, I could hear that a little
Yeah.
bit, So I just sent it to him. I'd met him a few times, and I just sent it to him. And of course, because it's a Buddy Guy record, he picks up the phone too. He responds on the text like, "Hey,
Yeah.
you got another Buddy Guy record? Well, I love Buddy, So I said, well, I actually have this song and wanted to throw it to you. And then he asked me, he said, well, what are you hearing on this? And I go, so he didn't connect that, which sometimes happens, I'm connecting that going, well, I think, you might be able to sing the third verse on this one. That's not about Chicago. It's about blah, blah, blah. And maybe do a slide solo and maybe do some slide fills in between
Yeah.
and he went, "Oh man, let me try it," And so that's how that all started. But there's Peter Frampton on the record,
Right.
and
Kingfish.
Kingfish, yep, and
Yep.
Joe Bonamassa, and uh, the Blind Boys of Alabama on a
Oh,
gospel
great.
song. So and they're all like we're talking about. I mean, working with Peter Frampton. I mean, having him sing the song I wrote and play guitar on it. I mean, I remember being in Buffalo and riding around with my bike, and the biggest record in the world was Frampton Comes Alive,
It sure
and
was.
anywhere you went, someone played the record, and it was on the radio nonstop, and everybody, if they could afford a record, had it, or if somebody had it at their house, you'd go to their house to listen to that record.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't, it's not lost on me on this stuff. I mean, I try to be professional when I'm working with people, but,
But there's still a bunch of pinch me moments going on there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think in addition to the Buddy nomination, and you've got some songs that you co-wrote with Joe Bonamassa, and he's nominated
Right.
in the contemporary, or if that's the proper term for the newer
Yeah,
blues,
contemporary. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
contemporary category. You co-wrote Breakthrough with him, and maybe some other stuff on that album.
Yeah, I think I have four or five on that record. I know the first sing I know well, what was the first three singles I know were songs I wrote with him. But Trigger Finger, yeah, I love that. Trigger Finger was
That's a
one.
great tune, man.
Thank you, thank you. And they're opening their show with it. He called me the other day. He said, "Oh man, it's killing." I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to give that away, but he's on tour right now, and
Yeah.
yeah, Breakthrough, and I think three others, and I don't know. What's funny? This is a crazy story. So I write a lot of songs, as you know, and
Yeah.
I did his cruise, Joe Bonamassa's cruise, and and I didn't title the song. All right, I think it was that song. Whether it was a song on the record that I went, they said we need to get you the label copy, which means they need to get your publishing company and your name and all that stuff. They need
Hmm.
to get that for the record. And his assistant, who's wonderful, this woman Sharon, she called me and she kept leaving me messages saying, we've got you down for this, this, and this, and but what's your publishing on this fourth song or whatever? And I'm thinking, it doesn't sound familiar. I mean, I didn't. There's no audio. I'm just looking at the name of it, and I go, I don't think I wrote that song. He must have wrote it with someone else, you know. And she said, okay, gotcha. And then she came back. She said, "No, he says he wrote it at your house, you know, with you." And I go, I don't, you know, and I'm like, and I'm always trying to be really cool about that and fair. Like, I don't want to take credit or something if someone else was part of it. I go, well, he probably came to Nashville and wrote with a bunch of different people, and he, you know, and then on the ship, they came up to me. They go, "No, he's really adamant about this. That he wrote this with you." And I said, "Can you send it to me?" You know, and they sent me the track, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, of course." You know, but the title, they changed the title or something, you know, to one of the verse lines, and I was just like, you know, I don't know, but that shows you
Uh,
how kind of,
that's a
you know,
great story. Well, it's really, I mean, that I think I could only, now that I've heard that, I could only attribute a story like that to you, as somebody that is so prolific and just moves from, project to project with not only with speed, but with high quality, you know, that you could actually forget that you co-wrote a song with Joe Bonamassa, and you're just like, oh, well, I just didn't know, you know.
well,
I
that
think,
is, it gets kind of crazy sometimes. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I got a call the other day from a legendary songwriter named Paul Overstreet,
okay,
and he, this guy's had so many hit records in the country era. You know, he wrote, you know, all the Randy Travis hits from the '80s. I mean, he's just a killer. And I was fortunate enough to go to his studio and write songs with him years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago in Nashville here. And we maybe wrote two or three songs, and nobody ever recorded them that I was under my knowledge, you know. But he writes all the time, and I write all the time. And I hadn't heard from him in probably 12 years or so, and I was getting off an airplane actually, and it's like Paul Overstreet. He goes, "Hey man, we got a cut. You know, somebody recorded one of our songs, and uh, and he has the title, and of course, It's been years, and I don't really. I'm thinking, I don't know if he's dialing the right guy, you know, me. And so I had to say, you know, can you send it to me? And he sent it to me. It was like a Motown song. It was crazy good. And luckily I had my laptop on me because I stopped at a gate, you know, I was at the airport, and I opened it up and I looked I just Googled Paul Overstreet in my iTunes, and there was the song. And it was just me and him writing it one day, a crude recording, and it did, you know, so it didn't sound like anything like this Motown thing, you know, but it was the song. So I was able to go, wow, you know, which is cool to
wow,
know that you can write something, and if you put a lot of time into it and you really work on a song, and then it just stays around for a long time, you know, it can, like an old bottle of wine or something, you know, it can still be present and still be valid and really cool for
yeah,
someone down the
yeah,
line, you know.
it's,
So,
yes, it's not like produce that's going to go bad.
right,
I
right.
mean, we're talking about something that is essentially timeless when it's right. And
Yeah.
as long as you're like you, putting in the time, putting in the work, sacrificing sleep and quality time with family and friends, and just, sacrifices and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, they come back years later, and, like seeds that just grow into flowers and trees, and you know, bear fruit,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, I just saw something recently. This is on a different kind of a health topic. I saw when you were talking about Joe, it just reminded me that recently he had a little bit of a scare with his hearing.
Yeah.
And of course, we're all concerned about that, not only for him, but ourselves. But how is your hearing? I mean, you're a drummer. You're sitting right by that snare drum and you're older than me, for decades and decades of playing, touring, recording, and also with your earbuds in, listening to mixes, mastering stuff in the studio. I mean, how is it for you? And do you do any preventative stuff to protect your hearing?
Well, yeah, I know I have damage, and I have a slight tinnitus and stuff just from wear and tear, like you mentioned, that I've
Yeah.
done my whole life. And But I attribute that to if I worked in a coal mine or something, my lungs wouldn't be good. Or if I worked in a, if I played sports and I probably wouldn't be able to walk.
Your knees and your back or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, um, anyways, for years ago, my ears were ringing all the time, and I was just when I was playing with Roy Buchanan and different people, they were just playing
Holy
so
shit.
loud.
Yeah.
Not only was I playing loud, but the guitars were so loud. And
Oh,
rock and roll back then was nobody had in ears. Everyone was just listening to monitors. And if you're a guitar or your drums, when I was playing the drums, you'd have to have stuff louder in the monitor. As everything gets louder and louder, more and
yeah.
more more and more stuff. And so I would always carry cotton balls. And that was my earplugs back then. And I didn't even know about earplugs, but I had cotton balls. And I know that if I just squeezed them up and put them in my ears, I could get through the rest of the show. And I could still hear, and I could take it out a little bit if I was singing, but
Yeah.
I could pack it in if during the solos. And I could, just deaden stuff a little bit. And I think, knock on wood, that helped me through a couple decades where I didn't and I could just have the cotton balls. I could buy other cotton balls. I didn't have to. It wasn't a big ordeal. And
Yeah.
if I knew I was just playing drums with this band tonight, Roy Buchanan, and I didn't have to sing or whatever, I could put them in pretty deep. And I know that they were cushioning a little bit my hearing.
Yeah.
But more than taking it down some decibels.
Just enough attenuation to maybe stave off some
Yeah.
worse damage. Yeah, I mean, I've got a really funny audiologist story. Maybe I'll share with you, sometime, maybe on December 6th when I see you at Sportsman's. But I've had some scares myself. Being a guitar player, mostly playing Fender amps, super reverbs, twins,
Those are loud.
um,
Yeah.
and sometimes multi-amp setups and stuff like that. There was this one time where one of my ears went completely deaf, and that scared the you know what out of me. I was like, is this it? Is this my Beethoven moment now? Where I'm just gonna have to, press my
Right.
head to the anything that resonates to hear stuff. Um, and fortunately for me, it was just a scare because when I went to an audiologist, she peeked into my ear with the scope, and she said, "Oh, okay, well, I see what's going on here." Well, it looked like a 5-year-old went in there and crammed a brown crayon and broke it off in my ear.
Wax.
I had so much buildup that it completely sealed off the canal and everything. And once they pulled it out and they cleaned out what they could, but manually. But then I clogged their machine, that little vacuum cleaner that they put in there. It was so much I clogged the machine. So for a long time I was producing a lot of earwax, and then I started to use musicians' earplugs,
Right.
and that's when I really got on top of controlling my hearing, because now when I go into the studio, I hear things sometimes that young engineers don't hear, just because every live gig, every time I'm in the audience or at a nightclub, they're always in there. And I opted for the minus 25 filters versus the minus 15s. I just like the frequency response a little better for me. So that's what I've been doing, and it seems to be working, because I'm still
Good,
doing it.
good. Well, it's
Yeah,
good. You got to take care of your ears. That's our whole thing is the
right.
ears. You gotta be able to, so yeah, definitely. And I've been around a lot of drummers, a lot of musicians that are deaf, or half deaf, and it's.
What?
I know. It's so funny, man. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, so you mentioned Roy Buchanan, who was the a Telecaster master, just a wonderful player and artist. It seems because you bring in the Rattlesnakes with you to
Yeah.
Sportsman's, both your guitar players are both Tele guys. Is that, like, do you have more of an affinity for that instrument versus maybe the overly harmonically complex,
Uh,
Strat type thing?
no, I don't think so. I I do like the telly for certain things, you know. But I'm wide open. I know in
Okay.
my band for a while I had a Les Paul player. Billy Lasigian was my guitar player, and he
Oh,
just
okay.
played Les Paul. That's all he played, and it was great. And so like on my Balderdash record, he's on that where it's a Les Paul heavy Marshall thing, and I love it. To me, it's just song to song, but live, whatever guys feel comfortable with, I'm
Okay.
ready to go.
All right. That's cool. Um, so, another thing that kind of connects one of the great songs from your previous album is the fact that Johnny Winter still not being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, how you feeling about this process lately?
I mean, I don't know anymore because it's so hard. It's like seeing the top guitar players on Rolling Stone magazine or something. Or whatever. I mean, the best bass players in the world, and I have an opinion, you have an opinion, everyone has an opinion. I mean, it's obvious sometimes when they're completely, I mean, if you've done this long enough, you know that, I mean, everyone has Jimi Hendrix or whatever in there, but you can't have, and I don't want to say names, but you can't have some guy in front of Jimi Hendrix I mean, I've seen the list where Jeff Beck's not on it,
Right.
or,
Yeah.
or whatever, and you're going, I think pretty much every guitar player around is afraid of Jeff Beck, I mean, like, but I mean, who am I to judge, And so even when it's like, you see the best drummers in the world and, you know, Buddy Rich and Ringo aren't on it, but it's, great
Yeah.
drummers, but you're going, I don't know who's making the list. So when it's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I mean, I think they've made some wonderful choices, but they've left out some people through
Yeah.
the years that and I don't know how that's voted on. I mean, there's an inside thing happening that I don't know, so
I don't really know either. I think it's a shame, and it would seem to be a no-brainer for those of us that seem to be in the know, and probably even for a lot of other people that might not be as into the musicology as of rock and roll and blues rock as we are. But yeah, whenever I see, those lists, of guitar players or drummers or best this or that, or they say Eric Clapton is the most overrated guitar player, and I'm like, by what rating system?
yeah, right, right.
Who came up with some kind of standardized rating system that qualifies an opinion like that? But you know, I just don't agree with a lot of that. But I definitely agree with you on the Johnny Winter thing. Um, so how's your instructional book going with Hal Leonard? I know you've got a songwriting book
Yeah,
that
yeah,
people can
I
get
think
on
it's
Amazon.
going good. I never bring that up to people, but it would make a great Christmas gift. I
That's
mean, so many people, I mean, I guess I'm supposed to be promoting my record, which I hope people go to Spotify or they can come to my website. I'll sign them a copy for it, or they come to the gig. I'm going to bring all the vinyl and the CDs to the show. And I also have this other thing that the record company made that you just tap into your phone and they want me to sell them for $10. And it's a thing where you just take it, tap it into your phone. The record's in there, and all kinds of information and videos and
Yeah.
crazy stuff's in there. So
See, I like that idea. I'm not sure how I feel about the whole AI thing, and
oh yeah, yeah,
50,000, they say 50,000 songs a day are being uploaded that were, had to do with AI and the composition somehow.
wow. I don't know. I mean, what the number one country song and the number one pop song were AI people that were not even they're not even they're not real. There's just a picture of them and they do videos and everything, but they're and the song is that was not recorded by any musicians and was not written by a real person. So I don't know. Sometimes, Tommy, I feel like I'm I'm an old guy now, and I've done a few things, and the new things happening, and I'm glad I'm not starting now.
Right.
You know, it's like the whole thing when the internet started and all music was free. or
Yeah.
Metallica's yelling about that, and then there's no more record stores, and everything's in the cloud, and then there's, CDs replaced albums, cassettes were gone, so this all this stuff's happened. No more record stores. Um, I, I mean, I'm, not like it
Yeah. You're.
was,
It's,
so
yeah.
the infrastructure's gone and all this stuff. So, um, and it's funny. I remember being at an Apple record store. I'm in an Apple store getting my laptop fixed, and there was a young guy who knew me at the store. I mean, he heard of me at the store, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be just like you. I'm going to be a record producer. I'm going to put my own records out. I'm a songwriter. I play guitar. I'm going to, I go, that's great. That's great." And he goes, "But why? Let me ask you, why you want to get this thing fixed? Just get a new one." And I said, "Well, this has a CD player in it, my
Right.
laptop." And he goes, "Oh man, haven't you heard? We phased that out. We don't want any CDs anymore, man. It's in the cloud. It's all, nobody has to deal with that anymore, And I remember having a little bit of a heart to heart with him, saying, and you wanna, I go, let me ask you, you want to be like what I do? How are you gonna get, how are you gonna get paid to do that?" He goes, "Well, just like you. I mean, we'll just you write songs and you get paid, and you get, the music goes out there and you get paid." And I go, you know what? Every time someone buys a CD, this was a while ago,
Hmm.
and I go, when they used to have CD players in cars too and everything. I said, every time someone buys a CD, I get this amount of pennies. And fortunately, I've been able to sell, a lot of these things that have happened.
Hmm.
But you've just changed the playing field. The new
Right.
generation has done that, and you could have a hit song on whatever you listen to, Spotify or whatever, and you won't make what I used to make with those CDs, So
That's the thing. Unfortunately, this gentleman um, does not understand the, the 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 financial the flow of things, the hierarchy of, in order to hire a producer like you, in order for you to make a living, somebody's got to pay you, and somebody's got to be able to make money on what they're asking you to produce in order to hire you. Um, and so somebody's got to be buying their records, and millions of streams a lot of times still isn't going to cut it.
yeah,
It's physical product, or unless something dramatically changes with the way artists are streamed. But I mean, I can tell you from my own experience, and you can probably relate. You've probably got considerably more listeners monthly than I would have, like on Spotify or Apple Music. But it's still not enough to sustain a career if that's all you were depending on. You know, I mean, yeah, because you want to be able to not have to go out and tour. You want this to be your, you know, an income stream that's that you don't have to go out and um, constantly, killing yourself to live, to coin a Black Sabbath song. So I'm glad you mentioned that you're glad that you are kind of, before all this stuff has occurred.
yeah. I mean, I
And
hate to say that. I mean, but it is like, I mean, I saw an interview with, I remember Roger Walters. This was years ago, and him saying, and the interviewer was kind of like bitching at him, saying, "Well, why are you so negative about it all?" Like, and he goes, "No, I'm trying to stick up for the new artist." He goes, I have the biggest selling record ever. I've already done it. You know what I mean? I have a castle. I have a this or you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to say it's not right to not pay the artist. That's what I'm saying. I don't care. I don't care. But I'm trying to. I have a, I'm a person that people will listen to. So I'm trying to say that, you should get paid for your work and not get it stolen and get, but I'm not trying to be, I'm trying to stick up. I don't care, because I'm over. No one's going to buy my new record,
well,
and
yeah, I heard something interesting yesterday. I think I saw an interview where Elon Musk was in a group chat like we're talking right now, and he was saying that there's the potential that AI could actually eliminate the need for money in the future altogether. So that's a whole kind of game-changing concept, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you think about not to get too heavy on this stuff, but you think about like
Yeah.
my parents. I remember buying my dad um, when I was 18 or 19 and I went away to school and I said, I want to get you a answer machine, at your house, and 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 I remember him going, I came home for Christmas and I put it all together. I said, now you got an answer machine and anyone who calls you, they can leave a message, and you can come home and hear the message all the time. And I remember like for months, it just would ring and ring and ring, and then, or he'd pick up, and I'd call him. I'd say, hey, how you doing or whatever. I'm over here doing this. And how are you and mom? And then finally I said, Dad, I've called you a couple times and you don't pick up and the machine must not work. So when I'm home next, I'll check it out. He goes, no, I think it's working pretty good. And I said, but when I call you and sometimes I don't get the machine, He goes, oh, that must be when I'm out. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, when I'm out, I turn it off. And I said, Dad, and he's not a dumb guy. I just said, hey, but that's when I want to call you. He goes, well, how are you going to call me when I'm out? I go, well, I'll leave a message. He goes, well, what's that do? I'm out. Call me. I mean, like, I mean, his whole idea was, I'm
Oh,
not home. Me and your mom are out having lunch.
that's
So when
funny.
I come home, call me after lunch. So I can talk. And Buddy Guy's the same. He has a cell, but he's like, well, I'll be sleeping that time, so don't call
Yeah.
me.
Well, for some reason that reminds me of that classic and hysterical Johnny Guitar Watson song, "The Telephones." You remember that song?
Oh yeah,
It's just like Rapper's Delight. It's got the doon doon doon, kind of like a disco
right.
era kind of thing where he talks about he's in love with this cutie, but he only wants her to call him after 9 for the evening rate, and it's hysterical. I mean, I
Yeah,
love that.
remember all that stuff? Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I love
So
all that, the personality and the humor, and just I think those are really parts of the things about blues music that you and I and many other people really, love and hold dear. And you are one of the greatest songwriters for the genre for many 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 years now. And Buddy Guy has dubbed you the White Willie Dixon, which is a massive compliment. And people are going to be able to hear that and see that in the flesh at Sportsman's Tavern on December 6th. Make sure you get your tickets ahead of time if you can. You can be able to pick up Tom's new record. It's called Down the Hatch on Cordo Valley Records, and see what all the hype is about. I mean, it's not really hype, but for lack of a better word, what the hype is all about. So make sure you go see Tom. I'm going to be there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you, man.
yeah, likewise. I hope we see a lot of old friends and everybody. Just come on out. I got a great band and we want to just have a good time, have a party, celebrate the release of the record.
Right. And you have yourself a happy Thanksgiving with your family. You've got a lot to be thankful for with your girls, who are also
Thank you, Jim.
burgeoning legends in Nashville and music in
They'll be there
general.
too. They're coming this year, so
Oh,
they're
okay,
gonna be
great. I
here.
look forward to seeing them. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
Um, well, thanks for stopping by, Tom. It's always a pleasure, and we appreciate you and what you do for us here at WBLZ.
Thank you, Tommy. It's great to talk to you always.
Okay, talk to you soon, man.